Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Matthew back in the game room with yet another episode of the My Favorite LJN tournament. We are on round 2, and this is going to be the 4th video I make tonight. I wasn't going to plan on making any more past the 3rd video, but the wife's upstairs gaming, so I figured this would be a perfect time to come down here and make some additional videos. So, some interesting matchups today, a couple of them. Again, just per usual, I'm not excited about because we're going to be losing a great figure or two here or there. But give you the matchups. We are looking at Pink Referee squaring off against Slick. Big Boss Man is going to take on the Custom Rick Martel. Ultimate Warrior is going to take on $1 Million Man. The Warlord is facing Haku. Ultimate Warrior Volume 2 is going to face Barbarian. Brother Love is going to square off against Alpha, and Hawk is squaring off against Ric Flair. So once again, the first battle is going to feature the original Slick squaring off against the XOX Customs pink shirt referee. So the white shirt referee also from XOX Customs, and then I have a blue shirt original. Because blue shirt and white shirt came part of the original line, I consider those original figures. Well, the white shirt original figure, even though it's a custom XOX figure. But I just really like the pink shirt referee. And I don't know what's happening with a lot of my XOX Customs figures because the paint is chipping on so many of them and it's driving me nuts. Ugh. So, based on design, Slick would absolutely obliterate the referee, but based on playability and fighting pose, the referee is essentially just another Terry Funk, only right arm up instead of left arm. So, playability-wise, the referee would obliterate Slick. Now, Slick doesn't have a bad pose, but I mean, he's a manager, not intended for wrestling, and just looking at it, I don't think I would ever really use this as a wrestler. Like, I don't think even now, either as a kid or as an adult, if I tried to wrestle with this, have some fun, I don't think I would get any enjoyment from that. I could sit there and wrestle with this referee all day. This is a great looking figure. It's a very generic figure, but it's a good one. I don't think the referee went very far in my competition last time, but I am changing that this time because I am choosing the referee over Slick to move on to round 3. And like I mentioned in my last video, you'll notice that when I pull up a figure to the screen, if I'm giving an answer within, a minute or so, you pretty much know it was relatively easy or easier, choice to make. The ones that, I'm sitting there talking about for several minutes, I'm kind of like contemplating which one I want to go with because I never know which figure I'm going to choose, not until I actually bring them up to the screen and make my selection at that point. Like right now, I've got one of the elite figures of the LJN line, the Big Boss Man Series 6 squaring off against a custom Rick Martel from Wrestling Rider. So Rick Martel in general, not on my top 10 list of best figures, but it is one of the greatest figures as far as wrestling poses are concerned. When I did my videos, again, they're not going to be posted until after the tournament ends, where I'm going through and I'm doing my favorite LJN originals in order. Months and months ago, I did top 10, but I never did anything past top 10. So when I've been talking about the figures, I'm constantly talking about, well, this is my number 40 favorite figure. I don't know that. I'm just throwing out a number off the top of my head that I'm guessing that it would come in at. But when I'm actually pulling the figures off the shelf and putting them in order, yeah, I did up to, so I did 11 through 20, 21 through 30, 31 through 40, and episodes 2 and 3, 21 through 40 essentially, did not save, which I'm mad about, but I'm also kind of happy because for whatever reason I didn't pick Rick Martel off my shelf, probably because it's kind of like bleeding in there with the Tio Santana figure, and so this should have been a top 20 figure. I didn't put him on there, so he's probably going to start off my 21 through 30 video when I do get around to remaking that video. So two exceptional figures. So Rick Martel and Strikeforce in general are very difficult figures to acquire. To get a really solid custom Rick Martel, you're probably going to have to pay up $100, $125. I mean, it's a really solid, and it's just a simple repaint, going from a white paint scheme to a blue paint scheme. But it's unique. They tack on the model glasses, throw on the little sweater vest, give it a little nice little college preppy look. And it's just a beautiful overall figure. Even the championship AWA belt, amazing. But again, as much as I love the Rick Martel figure, and being a custom from Wrestling Rider holds extra meaning, of course, it's still going against one of the toughest competitors in this tournament, and that is Big Boss Man. Don't be wrong. The Big Boss Man is a heavy hitter in this tournament. But what a lot of figures have, they got like this little finger push. I don't know what's up with that. Why so many of these figures have this little index finger thing sticking out. And I'm just kind of like looking at the figures, and even if it's not the finger, they got like their thumb. But the index finger is such a common scheme with a lot of these figures. So we know with Hasbro, they took a lot of figures, modeled new figures after them. Like you'll see Berserker modeled after Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and all they did was place the head, because with the body they still got the thumbs up and everything. And the only figures that are unique are probably like Scott Steiner, maybe Yokozuna, definitely. Like they say, they took a Rick Rude figure and they created Ric Flair, and then later on 1-2-3 Kid, etc. So I'm wondering if they did the same thing with LJN, at least the same arms or something, arm molds, because like I said, so many figures have these little finger pointers. I don't want to spend too much time on one single matchup, not when I have 7 battles for this video, but this is a tough one, guys. I love Rick Martel. I love this particular figure, but I am going to have to put him down for the competition. Like I said, Big Boss Man from LJN Series 6 figure. Most of the Series 6 are going to be heavy hitters and are expected to do very well overall in the competition. Big Boss Man pushes through to round 3. Next matchup is going to feature the Ultimate Warrior. Make sure I got this in the right order here. So I kind of wrote this down, but you know what? That's why. Okay, yeah, we're good. So Ultimate Warrior from LJN Series 6. He did defeat his customs in the first round. He's going to square off against the $1 Million Man from Wrestling Rider. Now, the toughest part about this competition is this figure, I think, made it to like round 4 or maybe 5 the first time I did this tournament. $1 Million Man in general just goes above and beyond in my listings. So, like when I was talking about the $1 Million Man green suit from XOX Customs, and I talked about in the first 2 videos how that figure was listed so extremely high among my favorites. And then you've got the $1 Million Man white suit from Wrestling Rider. Hey everybody, sorry I had to pause mid-sentence, so I can't remember where I left off. So I was talking about $1 Million Man, and I wish I knew how to edit. Otherwise I would edit that out and do like a little fadeaway or something, but hopefully you guys, this isn't too distracting from the video. I think I was saying something about the $1 Million Man going extremely far in my competition. XOX Customs version near the top of my list among my favorites, before finally pushing him further down my list in the last video review. The Wrestling Rider $1 Million Man. This version did defeat all the other versions the first time I did the tournament. Went extremely far, I think round 5 if I'm not mistaken, but no less than round 4. And this time going against one of the absolute elite figures of the LJN line. this is a tough one. Like one I'm really gonna struggle with because I know the capacity of this figure to go far in this competition, and I think this figure, because the way I did my tournament the first time around, I would have put this one and the Wrestling Rider Custom Ultimate Warrior against each other, even though they're completely different figures. And of course, when I've done this tournament, I basically, unless they had the same pose, I consider them completely different figures. That's why you've got 3 versions of Hercules with a chance to move forward. You got 3 versions of Ultimate Warrior with a chance to move forward. 3 different British Bulldogs with a chance to move forward. 3 different Andre the Giants from the LJN, which I'll have potential to move forward, etc. So we're going from a figure of the LJN originals, which I consider to be a top 10 figure, and going up against one of the greatest Wrestling Rider figures. I don't know if I had this on my top 10 list. I'm assuming I did, and I don't know where I put it on my Wrestling Rider top 10 favorites. Guessing off the top of my head, well, no, I was saying number 4, but he had a lot of other really great ones that really stood out. So, but I think this was a top 10 figure nonetheless. This is an impossible decision. Yes, this is an XOX Customs purchase, but I still consider it an original based on, design and everything. Love the fighting pose. Love the graphics on the boots. Among my favorite. A good replica of the original LJN paint scheme. I still love this figure, but I'm going to push Ultimate Warrior to round 3. And like I said, there are so many figures in this second round that have been eliminated already. And we were talking in the previous tournament, these guys ran to 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, and now they're getting eliminated in first rounds or for first 2 rounds, and it's infuriating because the potential is there to be victorious. Is it going to win the whole competition? No. I already know that, but I know that it had the potential to go very far and make things interesting. But again, I just love this figure so much, I just can't pass on it. And I think if the roles were reversed and this one had the warrior pose and vice versa, maybe we could have gone different with this decision, but I think it's a fair trade-off. Ultimate Warrior Series 6 pushes forward to round 3. Next battle is going to feature Warlord and Haku. So, Warlord from Series 6 taking on Haku, the King Haku custom from Stanger GQ. So right off the bat, we will start with the Warlord. Absolutely amazing paint job. Alright, so I love the facial paint. I love the way that they got the dual color hair. It's, for the most part, it's just a simple black figure, boots and trunks, just like, Greg Valentine. Yes, the face paint is awesome, and the fighting pose, not the greatest. It's not like a Hulk Hogan fighting pose, but it is among the elite figures as far as fighting pose is concerned. And I think I had this on my... Yeah, I think I had him like number 8 as my all-time favorite LJN original. Just guessing. So, he goes against the custom Haku from Stanger GQ, as I mentioned. The custom robe and hat, obviously, huge upgrades for the figure. The pants, very similar to that of the XOX Customs version. And I like the fact that he's got realistic skin on here, whereas the XOX Customs, where he has much lighter skin. I'm trying to think. This one doesn't have that little stencil on the bottom of the feet, but I could have sworn this was like an original figure that they just repainted. But again, because I don't see that stencil, I'm going to assume they just, took a mold of Haku and repainted it. Either way, it's a great figure. If it was an original that they with the repaint, that to me still makes it more valuable than if they just took a new rubber mold. So, absolute beautiful figure. Hate the fighting pose. such a fantastic figure, just ruined with the whole arms up. Terrible. Seriously, if his arms were down, like if both his arms were like this, kind of like, straight out like a Frankenstein or something, maybe a little out, out here or something, it could have been a perfect figure, but that really destroys it for me. So, like so many competitions, it comes down to, do I like the overall design and color scheme of the figure, or do I like the fighting pose? Thing about this Warlord figure, yes, he's got the superior fighting pose, but even with the facial paint, I mean, that's still a good color scheme. Does he have the accessories and the different color-wise that Haku does that really going to make it blend well together? No, that's the downside. It's still a rubber figure. You can still do a body slam. Basically, I don't want to ruin the rubber, so I'm not going to stretch out the arms, but yeah, you could do this really high body slam, but not like a huge fan of that particular pose. Yes, I am going to go with Warlord. I think it's only fair that I keep the Black Card Series 6 figures going strong. And I knew Haku would never win this competition. I think Warlord has a much better opportunity to go very far. Does he win it? I think there's maybe 10 to 20 figures that I legitimately think have a legitimate chance of taking over sole possession of first place. So if I say 20 figures, 5% chance of winning, whereas Haku had a 0%, it's only fair to move Warlord forward. The next battle is going to feature, from Random Treasures, Ultimate Warrior Volume 2 versus Barbarian. Now, here's the thing about these figures. Both of them have very similar poses, with the arms up and out just enough. Barbarian, obviously with his arms just slightly further out, a little bit better pose than Ultimate Warrior. They both have really fantastic facial paint. And I do have a Wrestling Router version of this exact Ultimate Warrior, still in competition. So, if I eliminate this warrior, I would still basically have essentially this warrior with a different pose, still battling for, onward movement. Whereas if I get rid of the Barbarian, that's it. Barbarian's one is pretty much done. There's no other figures, Barbarian figures that are going to move forward. This is, I think, overall, maybe a superior figure. Slightly, not a whole lot, but it's tough. Because, I'm such a huge Ultimate Warrior fan, just like many people. Right behind Hulk Hogan is my all-time favorite wrestler. I know of Ultimate Warrior, of history of the Ultimate Warrior. Barbarian, sure, I've seen him wrestle. Obviously I need to go back and get refreshers to see his matches, but, I even off memory, I could always remember, Ultimate Warrior wrestling. And it's a tough choice because in this particular matchup, you could say, well, there's no wrong answer, but, I want there to be a wrong answer. I want there to be a wrong answer. I want there to be a right answer, and I think I'm leaning towards Ultimate Warrior. We already have one warrior, and we have another warrior still due up, so we could potentially have 3 warriors moving forward. At some point, they're going to end up squaring off against each other if they keep going far enough in this competition. It would be nice to keep Barbarian, at least some power, to keep the power pains going along with Warlord. Head sculpt of Ultimate Warrior is spectacular. Face paint is great. Design of the figure, especially the boots. And I'm not really sure what the little string are, but they're both really good figures. It hurts to have to kick one back because, again, to me, there's no wrong answer with these particular figures. I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm pulling the trigger. Ultimate Warrior Volume 2 moves on to round 2. Or round 3, excuse me. And kind of like what I said in previous videos, because I pretty much did a lot of backstories, talking about some of the different figures in round one. From this point forward, I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time giving backstories or anything like that with a lot of the figures. It's pretty much just going to be discussing the figures themselves. I'm sure I'll throw in a few stories here or there as it pertains to interesting figures that I have history with, or want to discuss some kind of topic. But these videos are still taking almost 40 minutes, and I'm not even giving any backstory, so I think we're better off keeping it as is and just kind of discussing the figures. Otherwise, we're going to probably draw each episode out to about an hour or so. Alright, next one is going to feature Brother Love versus Alpha. Head Shrinkers. So it's either Sika or Alpha. It could be Sika that I'm thinking of. So from the Wild Samoans, yeah, I'm almost positive it was Sika, not Alpha, that later on became the Head Shrinkers manager. So I'm going to resituate myself a little bit. Knees are kind of killing me. So I love the Alpha figure because he looks so much like Danny Trio, and that's why I keep gravitating towards this figure so much. Wild Samoans, when I saw them on Random Treasures website, I'm always on Etsy looking at their page because I'm always interested in seeing if any new figures have come out. And I saw them and I'm like, they're nice. Don't know anything about Wild Samoans. The figures themselves weren't, overly spectacular. Because Alpha and Sika mirror each other just like the British Bulldogs, I wasn't really crazy about the figures, but I mean, even when I did my review, when I got them in, I think it was episode 54, I put them dead last out of 19 figures, but when I made the last review of XOX Customs, they came in at like 18 or 19 or 19 and 20, so I did eventually push them up. And, they got good weight to the figures. Decent rubber on here, a little bit smoother. At least the skin tone kind of like really meshes, so that's good. Going against Brother Love. Every time I've done a review of XOX Customs and I've had the Brother Love figure, I've always rated this figure so high. Like, I put him like right up there with Legion of Doom. But going against the Wild Samoans Alpha, do I want to continue that trend of pushing him forward in the competition? Which one of these two figures gives the best chance of success? Meaning they can go further in competition, have the best likelihood of, if not winning the competition, again, at least pushing forward to multiple rounds. I still just love this figure. I mean, there's just something about the Brother Love figure that really entices me. He's got like his legs bent, knees bent in the back, and he kind of leans back, kind of like a Jim Brunzell figure. And yeah, I'm kind of looking at the Jim Brunzell right now. Fighting pose wise, Nikolai Volkov, Billy Jack Haynes with the arms in and out a little bit. It's a playable figure. If you wanted to buy it for your kids. Again, with XOX Customs, a majority of the figures, I'd say 99% of the people that buy from XOX Customs do not give these figures to their kids. I mean, when you're talking about $100+ per figure, that you don't want to get something like that destroyed. You want to just display it proudly. So, anything from like the little red pocket square to the little decal of the rose. And, like I've been saying all along, he looks like a strawberry shortcake or, not strawberry shortcake. What have I been saying? Red velvet cake. Well, it could be a strawberry shortcake too. Why not? And, I don't know. Shoot. These battles you wouldn't think would be as difficult of a choice. I don't know anything about Wild Samoans. So, when you come across two figures that you can't choose on, you can't decide on, you like their poses, they're adequate, you like the color scheme, so you got to find other criteria to put them over the top. I know Brother Love, I mean, I've been familiar with this, watching wrestling in my early childhood. I don't really know much about Wild Samoans or the wrestlers. Is that enough to push one over the other? I think I was going to choose Alpha, but after going with the history, I think my best choice is to push forward Brother Love to round 3. So the last battle is going to pit Hawk against Ric Flair. And I'm very surprised that this is the 7th matchup already, and we're only at about 25 minutes. Back up a little bit. Got to start kneeling here. Right off the bat, we already know Random Treasure's Legion of Doom is possibly their best work. And he's got an awesome fighting pose. Kind of, again, like the Nikolai Volkov figure. Like the Brother Love figure. So, playability-wise, Hawk better among Legion of Doom figures. Everything from the way that the muscles kind of tense up in the back over the shoulders, and the overall just great design of the figure is just absolutely fantastic. Getting the Ric Flair 2-up was instrumental to building this great brand of products that no one else would ever probably have thought of. So coming out with Ric Flair, get it. You got it. You got one of the world's greatest champions. He makes sense to be the first one. If they ever told me, hey, we're coming out with Gloob 2-ups, who would you like to see made? Sid Vicious, right off the bat. There's not even a question. Coming out with Ric Flair, and then I'm like, you know what? When it came out with this guy, I'm like, hey, when are you guys making, Sid Vicious? So I've been talking about that for months, and then when he finally came out, over the moon with that one, with joy for that particular purchase. Ric Flair. I never had Legion of Doom figures as a kid. I did have the Ric Flair Galoob figure. So kind of thinking back on my Galoob playing days, we had Sid Vicious, we had Ron Simmons, we had Brian Pillman, Ric Flair, and both Steiner brothers. 6 figures. I'm trying to think if there were any others. Off my top of my head, I can't think of any others that we've had. So, and I said before, because we didn't have, whenever I played wrestling as a kid, I always enjoyed having Royal Rumbles. I really didn't enjoy singles matches or tag team matches. It had to be a Rumble, because that was always the most joyful for me. But we only had like maybe 15, let's say, Hasbro figures, and throwing those 6, Galoob figures. Then we had to find random figures around the house to use as wrestlers. That's where like the Thundercats came into play. We had a couple figures there, or throw in, Bigfoot and Incredible Hulk, things like that. So this figure, the Galoob version, got so much play as a kid, and I have such a great history with this. But again, you're talking about one of the most elite figures of the XOX Customs line. This, again, you might as well just, throw them up in the air, see which one lands first. That one's going to be the winner. Or, throw them up, turn around, pick one up. It's hard. It's impossible. Are either one of these figures going to win the competition? For me, it's not simply about what figures are going to win or could win. It's what figures have the best opportunity to move forward. And I'm not talking about one round at a time. I'm talking, if we're in round 2, I want to potentially have that figure, see that figure in round 5, round 6, because it's going to make things interesting each time. It's going to be a headache to choose, but it's going to at least be interesting. And these are 2 figures that I think are right there, where you're going to have to make a very tough decision. What I could say is I did rate the Hawk figure a whole lot higher than Ric Flair when I did my XOX Customs reviews. I mean, can I really use that as an example? Trying to see playability-wise, again, small arms, not exactly the best body slam. But Ric Flair, I mean, he's like right at the waist. Even if you come under right arm, you bring it up a little bit higher, but not by much. Galoob, Sid Vicious, Barry Windham. Not Ron Simmons. Who was the other one? I think they're called Doom. Butch Reed. Sid Vicious, Barry Windham, 10 out of 10 figures. Butch Reed, if not 10 out of 10, maybe 9.5 out of 10. Everything else, everything that you would consider like Brian Pillman, Ric Flair, Rick Steiner, to me, those are, 5 out of 10, 4.5 out of 10 figures. I used Ric Flair among my figures probably as much as anything. Maybe Rick Steiner got as much play because of they had similar poses. It's the last matchup, and I'm wasting time because I can't decide. All right, guys, I'm gonna make my decision. It's a tough call. I'm gonna go with Huck to move forward to round 3. In the next video, we are gonna see Animal square off against his opponent. So you have the potential to see both Legion of Doom potentially in round 3. So, and I think those two might actually square off. If not, if they win, you're gonna see them in round 4 at least. This was so tough, but hopefully I made the right choice. All right, everyone. Again, almost 32 minutes in. I just want to say thank you guys for watching. I always appreciate your support. And, again, let me know what you guys think and who you would have chose in your respective battles. All right, everyone. Thank you, and I will talk to you later. Goodbye for now.